Hello, welcome to either part one, part two, or part three, depending on how I'm distributing these. But essentially, this is the definitive, we'll call it cash value tax advantaged, instead of saying IUL or whole life, because I don't want comments being, oh, IUL's better, no, whole life's better, my carrier is better than yours, my IUL's better than yours. It's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to go over the best places to do cash value tax advantaged marketing. And so, like the previous videos, we're going to be ranking these in semi informally because sometimes platforms could be really good at these things and it supplements the things that they are bad at depending on what you're looking to do and how, and it's also weighed by how commission structures are with IULs and whole life, because this is more so the platforms that you should do for strategy, not necessarily a one size fits all, hence why this was separated into three separate videos in the first place. But talking about again cash value tax advantage policies, that I will say IULs from here on out, because that was my first introduction to tax advantage cash value policies. So don't argue in the comment sections or argue in the comment sections. Do whatever you want, get value out of it, but at the very least, try to get value out of this video. That being said, we are going to start with Microsoft ads, and for reasons that were explained in the previous two videos or like the other two videos, in Dex Universal Life, the tax advantage and cash value aspects of it require things to be consultative based. So we're gonna need like things that are like placements and or search. So we want to get people to either start thinking about what we offer, or we want to get people who are already thinking about what we offer to come to us first. And it's better to get people to think about something. It's better to saturate your market than to rely on the saturation of a market. So we're going to do Microsoft or Bing ads, and we're going to put that in A tier. And the reason for that is because Bing ads are just like Google search ads, the way Google search ads currently work. However, because there's less competition with Bing ads and slightly less users, it's still the same proportional amount of users, at least for your purposes, that it puts itself higher than Google search, because Google search is going through some changes at the moment, which is why we're putting it slightly behind Microsoft. They're basically neck and neck. It's just there's some uncertainty when it comes to it. There's just some uncertainty when it comes to the way Google is going about their platform, because they're making changes to their platform. One of those changes is how Google search works. They're going from Google search, and then people select as many links as you want, and then there's a bunch of pages, to the AI spits out the answer. Now they're going to put ads inside of the AI responses, but that's not implemented yet. And because the future of that is uncertain, we're going to go ahead and leave it slightly behind Microsoft for now. Now, Pinterest, we're going to put it at D tier. It is not where our audience is. It is within the age group of who we're targeting. It's certainly something that if you were to do supplementary to marketing on other platforms, you might be able to put it on B tier. But if we're purely judging it by doing just this platform and nothing else, Pinterest is not going to be the way to go. Now, for gig platforms or freelance platforms or like contractor work platforms like Nextdoor, Fiverr, Bark.com, kind of lumping all of those types of platforms, or like networking platforms like Alignable or Meetup.com, right? In terms of generating leads. This is more so like networking, or more so like non-social media but organic methods of marketing nonetheless. We're going to go ahead and put that on B tier. Like, it's not the most scalable thing in the world, but half of these platforms, you can just sort of set them up the one time, right? Especially Fiverr, you just set it up the one time and get inbound paid consultations. And, the more money you collect on Fiverr from those paid consultations, where you're upselling IULs. So, like, if we're talking just Fiverr, I probably put it A tier behind Google. But if we're talking about like all of them lumped together, which, because I don't want to have this type of topic on its own separate video. It's already 3 videos as it is. Like it's already going to be nearly an hour worth of footage by itself in order to talk about the different types of platforms. Just going to leave it alone as is, right? And so now we're going to go into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually, if you're going to be doing it alongside other forms of social media ads, especially if you're doing webinars, right? LinkedIn is actually a bit further ahead than it is for annuities and final expense. Like in those videos, I put it like very solidly in B tier, like at the tail end of B tier, borderline C tier. But because of the way index universal life and whole life works, because of the target demographic for them, right? And the cash value slash tax advantaged elements that they offer, it's actually slightly above Google if you are doing LinkedIn ads on top of secondary marketing, because running LinkedIn ads are very, very expensive, but people advertise their current employment status and all that stuff. So like it's a very trustworthy platform if you're doing any kind of business to business lead generation, not necessarily business to consumer. But the thing is, business to business is some like as it like where you're offering the cash value and the tax advantage aspect to business owners. It's actually very, very good, very, very good for that, because they can utilize these policies in a way that that a B2C audience or business to consumer can't, even though it's product market fit for both categories. So depending on how you're going about the advertising, it is still an A tier. It just gets swapped accordingly. Now, Reddit is a solid C tier. So because we're typically dealing with younger audiences for IULs and annuities, it's good. But Reddit, everybody on Reddit, and I've talked about this in the other 2 tier list videos, is like I've elaborated further on them, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just keep this under a minute. Everyone on Reddit is a know-it-all shithead, and that's just the culture of the platform. So when you advertise to know-it-all shitheads, it goes, "Oh, this is insurance, this is a scam," blah, 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 like way more so than other platforms. And the problem is what you like the thing is, since you're selling insurance, you know that it's a low trust sales environment, which means you need as much rapport and as much trust while you're communicating to the prospects. Now, the next one is TikTok, and I've talked about this in other stuff. Depending on the size of your organization, so if you have like 10 or more people under you, they're all profitable producers, and you need to feed them right now. Like I'm talking like you need as many leads as possible in as short a window as possible for as cheap as possible, right? TikTok's going to be the way to go, and it's going to be ahead of LinkedIn and Microsoft. It's not going to be S tier. It does solve that. It does solve that problem, but again, it's more so behind Google for like general purposes. If you are running TikTok ads, you should do it again auxiliary to something higher intent, which is what's coming up pretty soon. But again, if you like, as talked about in the other 2 videos, it's just like that your connection rates on a good day are going to be like 10 to 20%. And that's like with you knowing what you're doing on top of that. I'm sure there's someone else out there that's like some whiz at like TikTok ads specifically. And if he or she says that he's able to like get 90% connection rates or whatever, I'll happily hire him for you. But I haven't personally seen that much success with it. So let's just move on to the next one. X, formerly known as Twitter. Just kind of like in general, I'm going to put it slightly above TikTok if it's general. But if you're doing it as like your main source of lead generation, I'm going to put it actually behind Nextdoor and like freelancer gig apps and the like. The reason for that is like while you can get, there's not very many advertisers, especially not many advertisers for this. You're going to be doing it more so in a business to consumer context instead of a business to business context. And the secondary thing as well is people tend to be older, but you'll still get good IUL audiences. You might actually have more success with IULs on X than you would with annuities on X, as talked about in that other, again, link in the description. It might not be live yet, but link in the description for it. Unless you're watching this a few weeks in the future when it's posted, in which case it's there, obviously. But That being said, you really, really like should have these next platforms as your main one. So now we're gonna put TV ads. TV ads I put at S tier on final expense and annuities, but for IULs and whole life, I'm gonna put it at solid A tier, probably behind what is it? Probably behind Microsoft ads. And the reason for this is because I don't mean, and I said this in the other video as well, I don't mean like Frontier or like Comcast ads. Those are expensive and very like in a very competitive advertising market. I mean like smart TVs or like Roku because you can do $50 a day on smart TVs and Rokus. And yeah, and it's very good for what the platform has to offer. And because it's on smart TVs and the like, people can opt in. And there is like your primary method should be some variation of like call the number on your screen now, but there is website interfaces with your TV ads. Is just to get anybody to opt in outside of call the number on your screen now. There are requires a little bit of tech savviness on your consumer, which is fine because you're dealing with a younger audience, obviously. Now, this next one, S tier, I put it on like A tier and like B tier when it comes to IUL, when it comes to final expense and annuities. But if it comes to IULs and whole life, Instagram is S tier. It's exactly where your target market is. It meets all of the criteria. It's very, very good. And you could do it in combination with Facebook. If I had a tier above S tier, I would put running Facebook and Instagram both at the same time. You can do webinars with these platforms. You can get B2B and B2C audiences with meta ads. It's very, very, very good for IULs and whole life specifically. That is if you're going after the tax advantage cash value aspect of these policies, right? But if you're going after the death if you're doing the death benefit only, right, and you're just doing like general insurance ads, you'll probably put Instagram at about here, right? But if you're doing the cash value tax advantage prospect or aspect of it, you're gonna put them both right here. But yeah, that's this officially makes it the third recording of all three of these tiers. The links for those other two are down below in the description. I've also on YouTube put them in a separate playlist. If you actually want to watch me live dial 100, like if you want to watch me live dial and book nearly 30 appointments off of under 80 leads in an hour, then what you're going to want to do is there should be the end of this video, there should be some card on the side, and the thumbnail will say something like 20 plus appointments in 1 hour. It's literally an hour of me like live dialing leads that I've generated for clients running, this sort of omni-targeted strategy. Now these weren't webinars, so they were slightly lower intent, but they were still pretty good and still pretty high quality nonetheless. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to subscribe for more free